positive aspect of communal gathering and things like that being, sort of like a good counter to, what we call like seasonal depression.
Mm-hmm.
Something that can reduce that positive effect is feeling guilty after you have a time where you get together with people because of what you ate. Welcome to the Bacon Bibles and Barbells podcast. I'm Coach Justin and joined by Coach Amanda today. Coach Bill got called away last second, so he won't be able to make it today. So today we're talking about biblical feasting or feasting biblically. What are the characteristics of biblical feasting as we see as examples in the Bible? Particularly this will pertain to the Old Testament, but of course it carries over as a revelation, I think, of God's intent for what feasting, rightly ordered biblical feasting is. And also some practical tips on how to navigate the holidays, as this is often the November and December is when people struggle the most with weight gain and how to navigate some of those social gatherings, because people aren't just, it's not just on Christmas and Thanksgiving Day. It's the times leading up due to all sorts of different factors. And so I think we want to kind of talk through like how to be disciplined on your guard and how to navigate social gatherings and things like that, times with family outside of even those holiday gatherings, and tools that you can use to just to help regulate, moderate, and be able to enjoy those times without feeling guilty afterward and things like that. I think that a couple common characteristics of all biblical feasting that we see is they're planned. So we know, you know beforehand that it's going to happen, and it's occasional. It's not an all the time thing. Even there, and I think that there was more feasting in biblical times than what we enjoy today. Like even wedding feasts in the New Testament were a week long. It was a week long event of feasting of some kind, and so people actually probably did more of that than we do today. But I don't think that there was a whole lot of obesity back at that time. And I think it's for the reasons mentioned before. So I think that where I'd like to kind of go with this is mostly like when we think about feasting and things like that, like what's the purpose? What's the intent? Why do we do it? We talked about this with the technical characteristics, but like, Amanda, why would people feast?
Well, celebration, first of all, a remembrance of something. And even just as easy as celebrating who you're with, there's a communal aspect to that. There's, coming together with people you may not see very often and getting to enjoy yourself with that, which goes right along with what you said about occasional. It's not going to be all the time that you're doing this. Kind of a note on what you said about, we didn't really see a lot of obesity back in those biblical times, even though there was probably a lot more feasting. We have to remember those were not the same kind of foods that we have today, and the activity level that was carried out on a day-to-day basis might have been a lot different as well. So it's important to remember the context of that. But today, in our modern American world, we have kind of designated feasting times around holidays. We've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas. Some people do a New Year's thing. There's a lot of like back-to-back feasting times in the winter. Thanksgiving, a lot of the time is related to the harvest. So there's an abundance, even though many of us are not farmers. Most of us are not farmers these days. That's, it's still around the time when those foods are seasonal. So they're going to be a little less expensive at the store.
I think that's an important characteristic. Like that was a time when there was this abundance, and there wasn't, they didn't have the ability to preserve and refrigerate and things like that. And we also have food supply chains from all over the world so that we can have fresh produce anytime. We know how to, preserve apples and things like that. So like you can buy apples any time of the year. They're actually only harvested during a short time of the year anywhere, but we produce enough and then preserve it so that it's able to, we're able to buy it anytime. And so part of it was almost this practical thing of, we've made so much, we produce so much, so we got to do something to keep it productive, or it's going to go to waste. So there was even that aspect of that like fall feasting time and fall festivals and things like that. And I think that difference is important to bring out. And even if you're a farmer today, like, that might be when you get your paycheck, but your food supply doesn't really change meaningfully in America. You can still go to the grocery store and buy, the same foods that anyone else can. And farmers today aren't producing generally their own food. They're producing food for other people, and it's being sold elsewhere and things like that. So they're not. It's not the agrarian culture that we would have seen before, where people were, that's when you harvested what was in your garden and elsewhere, whatever crops you're producing. It's like, well, we've got a ton of it. We should use some of this. And another aspect of that too is, like, it was at the end of a hard working season. It was at the end of a harvest time, which was probably when people worked the hardest. That was the longest days and the hardest working times. And so, like, it is very different than what we often experience today, but it brings out, I think, a common characteristic, like we talked about, that it was as a result of something that was basically earned. And it wasn't earned because of day-to-day hard work. It was earned because of, like, we've worked for months for or really, in the case of a harvest, basically a year for this this produce and whatever else has been made and produced from farming and things like that. And so, like, I think that's a big characteristic that needs to be teased out, that or that we should try to share in common with I guess, rightly ordered feasting today. A big piece of this is, feasting biblically is not something that we do because you got through the day. It's not because I finished, a day at work and everyone's home. There's the school's done and the job's done and everything like that. Let's feast. It wasn't really that way. The feast, that's just day-to-day labors. And I think that's what we see that's common among people that really struggle with weight in particular is, and honestly, I think in most cases, I don't know if you'd concur with this or not, but probably most people who struggle with chronic obesity, they seem to, at least the people that I've worked with, tend to come from households as a child where that was the common practice. Your reward for getting through the day was you had a big dinner, and then you just sort of continued to snack through the evening. And that's when people would eat, a lot of their calories, probably, because a lot of it was from highly palatable, usually junk foods and things like that. They're not snacking on steaks and rice and chicken and rice. They're snacking on chips and soda and whatever else, and nuts and, whatever types of things like that. Maybe even actual sugary, sweet things as well. But I don't think we'll find any biblical examples of, feasting being for just getting through a hard day's work. That's not really the purpose of it, and it doesn't fall in line with what you said, where we don't celebrate community every day by eating a bunch of food. We don't there's not a historical events and things like that. It was to mark times on the calendar when there was accomplishment that was significant, that was beyond the day to day, and to mark a historical event that was significant as well. But not for hey, I got through a hard day. I think this sort of like I deserve this, or this is how I'm going to cope, or something like that. And it's really hard to rewire that for people that have been basically raised that way, because as a child, it's when your brain is the most plastic, and so those pathways get ingrained. I don't have the tendency to eat more when I'm stressed. I actually eat less when I'm under stress. I have a hard time eating enough to maintain my weight. And what I see as a common characteristic of people that struggle with this, it's a conditioning that often starts in childhood. I don't even know that it's necessarily natural for that many people that are struggling with obesity. It might be, it might not be, but I kind of doubt it. I suspect that it's very programmed as a child. Has that been kind of a similar experience for you with clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And I would say that it kind of perpetuates the problem just in those practices by itself. Because if you're starting to reward yourself at the end of a hard day, or you're just getting so many of your calories at that time before bed, then it's going to affect your sleep. Then your cortisol is weird the next morning. And then you're just going to repeat that day in and
Yeah.
day out. So without a diligent plan that you're going to be disciplined enough to execute, it's really hard to break free of that. You can rewire that, but it takes a long time to do so,
Yeah.
and it's important to remember that. It doesn't mean if you're a week before Thanksgiving, you can't start trying to
Yeah.
rewire that, you
Yeah.
know, and properly place that Thanksgiving meal where it belongs. It's a time that you're going to be with your family, and you're going to be able to enjoy each other, enjoy the celebration of just being together. You can choose different foods. Like, you don't have to have every variation of pie available. Like, you don't have to do that. Just, it doesn't even have to
Yeah.
be turkey. By the way, we've done brisket Thanksgiving a lot. I
That's
think we're
like
going
the
to do it again
Texas.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've done duck a couple times, actually. And it's nice. I mean, like, yeah, it is actually more fatty, fatty meat
It
source,
is.
but
It is fattier.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's occasional, and bite me.
Hmm. Yeah. I think with a lot of people struggle with the whole binge restrict cycle,
Yeah.
and the holidays are pretty hard to navigate for somebody who struggles with that because,
Yeah.
um, I mean, there's the time change that's happened, so the days just seem so much shorter. Everything feels darker. It's
Yeah.
stressful with everything that's going on. Since there is a lot of feasting, a lot of events, it's not just Thanksgiving Day or just Christmas. Like, you may have multiple family gatherings that you're doing, or things for work, or things with your friends, or whatever it may be. That this
Hmm.
feasting season is just elongated. It's not just these couple days.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of opportunity to binge.
Yeah.
Um, and there's not a lot of opportunity to get out in the daylight and
Yeah.
move around. And, it's getting
Yeah.
colder. So um, it's kind of a rough feasting time of year. Um, but the community aspect does help with that, because with the darkness that comes in the time change and having shorter days, it can increase the amounts of depression. So get together with people is good for that.
Yeah.
That helps with. It's a kind of a remedy for that.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure that you're being aware and mindful of your food choices during that time. Um, a big one
Yeah.
that I suggest and you
I
have
think
suggested.
can I bring
Yeah,
up
go
too
ahead.
on one thing? One aspect of the way that you can dampen that positive, just feeling guilty, but you do feel poorly. Like
Yeah,
if you binge eat, nobody feels good after binging, like the next day or even that day. Typically, I think a lot of people that are accustomed to do it on a day to day basis, they don't realize how miserable it makes them feel. There's obviously the longer term guilt of like, I don't like how I look, I don't like how I feel, but like people, you kind of get used to feeling that way all the time, feeling inflamed, feeling low energy and the crashing and things like that. And then like you get in this cycle of sort of addiction of like trying to not have that low because you're going to eat and chase that high. And if you are sort of in that paradigm, it makes it so those communal gatherings are actually less of a positive for you mentally, I think.
yeah. That's one of the things that I like to coach people on right off the beginning. If they haven't ever worked with a coach, or they've just struggled with nutrition for a very long time, is almost to keep a diary of like 20 minutes after you eat, snack, meal, whatever it may be. Write
Hmm.
down how you're feeling.
Hmm.
And I'm not just talking about emotionally, but like, does your stomach feel okay? Do you have a headache? Do you feel lethargic?
Yeah.
Um, what are you feel? Do you feel more energized? Like, that would be a great thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, or in some instances, depending on what you had, do you feel hungry again? I know
Yeah.
you've said protein shakes make you even hungrier. That's
Yeah.
something that some people get. But
Yeah.
it's also a tool you can use before going to these parties, these get-togethers, is have a
Yeah.
protein shake before you go,
Yeah. And I
because
want to
then at least
clarify
you
with
get
the protein
your
shake,
goal.
it makes me hungrier like an hour or two later.
Yeah.
So it'll make it easier for me to eat. And if I eat food within that time, for the, like for the assistance of like eating less to make sure I get my protein in, because I'm going to have, be in a place where there just isn't that much protein. It actually helps me a lot because I will feel more full. But if I have just protein, like a protein shake and that's it, that's where the hunger like kicks in hardcore for me, big time. And I think one aspect too that's important with like realizing how you feel. What a lot of people will report to me that once we start changing their diet positively is they'll talk about how they used to feel poorly an hour after they ate like every meal, or even less than an hour, sometime later they just like, then the crash hits and they're already looking forward to the next meal. When you eat well, you feel better after eating like almost immediately, and that tends to last all the way till the next meal. You still feel fine. You might feel hungry, but you don't have that
Mm-hmm.
low energy and hunger that is often associated with binge eating. And if your diet is rightly ordered, like I've had people tell me like that carbs used to make me feel horrible. And so they had this negative association with carbs, but then we fix some things on their diet. And then they start describing how like, wow, I eat carbs and I feel like I have all of this energy for a while that tends to last until my next meal. And that's when you know that your body's handling insulin better. That's when you know that you're actually eating
Mm-hmm.
properly and doing what you should do.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely where the carb myth. A lot of those, I carbs don't set well with me. Things are fried carbs. Like, are we are we
Yeah.
actually talking about the carb in this situation,
It's just
or
like the French fry studies, right? That are
uh-huh.
like basically where they cut out. I shouldn't call it that, but they cut sodium out from people's diets, and they were like their blood pressure got better and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, they weren't eating processed foods anymore that are highly inflammatory, and they were
Mm-hmm.
just eating less because when you don't eat processed foods, you tend to just eat less. And so they had all these studies, and they basically that was what like they concluded that burgers and fries were horrible for you. Well, they're not really, especially not burgers. Burgers are like, it's a bunch of lean meat and a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
bread and some vegetables. Like,
Right.
that's a pretty good diet unless you have a serious gluten issue. Like, that's actually not a bad. And a normal burger bun is like what 20 grams of carbs or something like that. It's not even
Yeah,
that many
something like
carbs.
20-30. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not a big deal. Like, that's fine. It's the fact that you had a soda with it. You might have had way too many French fries that were coated in rancid oils and that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
How
Like
much
it
cheese did
was,
you put on it? How much mayo did
yeah,
you put on it?
yeah,
Did you
yeah,
fry your bun?
yeah. Like what sauces were with it that
Yeah.
were like really fatty and things like that. And it's like it's looking at the wrong culprit, right? It's not. It's like what we've talked about with the nicotine studies and other podcasts where like nicotine's been condemned because of cigarettes, but those were cigarette studies, not nicotine studies.
Yeah.
It's a very different thing. And so like we have to be careful of what we establish as causative in making someone feel bad, because when we actually go to the right carb sources, the right protein sources and everything else, then all of a sudden things start getting better. And it's because of that eating carbs with a bunch of high, very pro-inflammatory fats, often rancid oils because they've been, at 400 degrees or whatever all day. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's, and a lot of restaurants, they don't change the oil in their fryers. And a lot of the processed foods you buy at the
Very
grocery
rarely.
store,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they change their oils like once a day or something like that. Like that is those oils are highly inflammatory at that point. They're rancid. They're causing gut disturbances. Like you are
Mm-hmm.
basically like drinking motor oil. Not really, but like that's practically what you're doing. It's not even really food at that point. It's just like this leftover junk that like we doesn't have much place in the human body. Even if you were to fry your food in fresh oil and then get rid of it afterward, like what we do, and we deep fry once in a while, but it's like it's fresh oil and then we toss it.
Yeah.
And that's a very different thing than the oil that's had like 100 batches of French fries fried in it for the day. The effect on the human body is very different.
Yeah.
My name is Justin Johnson with High Calling Fitness. Maybe you're tired, gaining weight, waking up with joint pain, back pain, and a body that just doesn't feel like it used to. You've tried to fix it, but nothing seems to last. What if you don't need another app or crash diet, but a real coach, someone to meet you where you're at and walk with you step by step? At High Calling Fitness, our coaching comes to you wherever you are. No matter where you live, small town or city, across the country or across the world, your health still matters. You don't have to go it alone. We build personalized plans based on your goals, your schedule, and your equipment, even if it's just a set of dumbbells in a small space. This isn't just training, it's a personal partnership. You'll get weekly updates, one-on-one access to your coach, and ongoing support through Zoom and Slack every step of the way. We're here to help you build strength, restore energy, and claim the life you were meant to live. Book a free consult today. Let's talk about your goals and see how we can build something better together. High Calling Fitness, built for the everyday, ready for the extraordinary.
Yeah, very much so. What would be the advice that you typically give to somebody heading into these things, other than having a shake first? Would you actually encourage a menu change or certain food items going into these?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the typical food items, but we're not married to these food items. You can change whatever you have for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Yeah, I mean the thing that's cool about Thanksgiving is honestly there's a lot of good choices on the menu at a typical Thanksgiving spread.
Yeah.
I actually find Thanksgiving to be the thing that's the easiest to navigate if I'm somewhere where, in a social gathering type setting, because there's a bunch of meat, it's a bunch of lean meat, it's high quality meat. And so boom, I've got that taken care of. And then beyond that, it's I can, the mashed potatoes probably have a bunch of cream in them or something like that, but whatever, that's fine. It is a feast.
Right.
And so I'm not real worried about that. I think the issue with Thanksgiving comes from how many of the sides are really creamy and fatty and things like that. And then how much, I think that a common look, it's not bad to do this necessarily, but I think that it can be if you're prone to eating this way, where a common practice is you have a big dinner and then everyone waits an hour and then they gorge themselves on dessert.
Mm-hmm.
And that really makes it hard to moderate your dessert intake when you're purposely waiting until you can actually handle food again after you already filled yourself up.
Unbuttoning their pants, falling asleep on the couch,
Yeah. And it's they wake up from the turkey stupor and oh yeah, it's time to have some pie. And then boom, you're going to an hour later, you're taking another it's easy to eat 2,000 calories of pie, especially if there's a lot of butter in it and it's things like that. And the sugar density is up there. So that's where I see more of the problem. But the actual classical Thanksgiving foods where it's meat and vegetables.
Yeah.
It's actually you can do really well at a Thanksgiving dinner and just moderate the other stuff. I think, you're talking about tools. I think there's two tools that I usually tell people to use. And they have to do with portion control and then just pre-gaming with protein. So of course you can always pre-game with a protein shake, but at the same time, you could also, instead of doing that, just be I'm going to eat a bunch of turkey.
Yeah.
Serve yourself a boatload of turkey and take it easy on the gravy because that's usually pretty high calorie too. But give yourself a bunch of turkey.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fine. Eat all the turkey you want at Thanksgiving. It's a lean protein source. If you fill up on turkey, you can't eat that many calories in turkey. It's not really.
Yeah, you'll get full first, or
you'll
tired
get
of
full.
chewing.
yeah, or tired of chewing. Yeah. Again, though, you got to watch the gravy because that can get to you. But what I do, I tend to sort of mix my mashed potatoes with the turkey, and so you still get that it moistens the meat and it's kind of nice. But I'm not necessarily drowning it in gravy. I usually get some gravy, but not a ton. But that's the big thing that I think that I tell people to do is have it pre-gaming with protein shake is a great way to handle this, but you can also just eat a ton of turkey and then look at the other foods, go for the veggies, and then you can let yourself have some carbs or whatever, but watch all the creamy stuff. Like my wife makes the creamy green bean stuff, the green bean casserole.
Yeah.
It's great, but it is fairly high calorie. I don't eat a ton of it. I'll usually serve like a moderate scoop of it, so it's fine. But like, watch all the creamy type stuff, because like some of those side dishes, like they're just creamy and there's a lot of it's really high fats, and so like that's what I usually say is like watch out for that stuff. But like, go hard on the turkey and get some vegetables in, and then there's usually like you're usually fine. And the other thing I usually tell people is one plate.
Mm-hmm.
You can fill that plate, and I don't care if you've like skipped a meal, going into it, which is what most of us do anyway. Like, skip lunch, have a light breakfast. Most of our diet plans, breakfast is fairly light anyway. It's usually not that heavy. So like, have your breakfast, skip your lunch, have a protein shake and a piece of fruit instead if you're really hungry. Be careful of like, there's a lot of pre-snacking at Thanksgiving. Usually you go over to someone's house and there's
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of snacks out because we're not going to eat for another hour or two. And so like, moderate that, or maybe just skip it entirely. If you're someone that's going to be prone to that, it's okay to just have like none or like one bite of a thing and be like, yeah, that was nice. I experienced it. We're good. And then just commit to one plate. Commit to like, I'm going to fill the plate once with a ton of turkey and then a little bit of everything else, and then just stop. And it's really hard to eat that much,
Mm-hmm.
to like really binge. And then when it's time for dessert, stick to one serving. And even then, feel free to cut a pie slice in half. I usually
Oh yeah.
will cut pie slices in half, because I
Mm-hmm.
found that like I've got the taste. And at that point, like after more than about half a slice, typically I'm just like eating it because it's in front of me anyway, because I already know what it tastes like.
Right. Yeah.
Like, my palate is already like super sweetened. Like, I don't need to experience more pie at a certain point. And so like, it's okay to just like have that partial slice of pie and then be like, yeah, that was nice, that was good. Go get your favorite one. That's okay. And stick to that. And if you feel like you really, really, really want to eat after you have that, half a slice of pie or whatever, wait 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. You're probably not going to feel hungry at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the 20-minute thing about like assessing yourself after you eat is actually really good. Even for this, is like, am I still hungry? Like, am I really still hungry? Or is it just fear of missing out?
Right. Yeah. And that's cutting your pie slices in half, or even let's say there's like just a lot of variety and you want to try it all, cut it into like a quarter of a piece that you'd normally
Yeah.
get. And just
Yeah.
get a little of everything. And that's fine. Then no FOMO. You got to try it all. And
Yeah, no, I do that too sometimes. I'll get like really, I'll cut
like a
a
sliver.
tiny slice
Hmm.
because I'm like, well, there's like three pies I really want to try, and I'll just get a few little slivers of each, and usually I can handle the calories. But I also don't like how I feel, because
All the
if you're,
sugar. Yeah.
yeah, like if you're doing that assessment, like Amanda said, where you're like assessing how you feel after you eat, you will notice that you feel very differently based on your portion control of desserts. Makes a big difference. And the other thing that can be really, really helpful, and I do this basically every year, go for a walk when you're done eating.
Hmm.
Just go outside and go for a walk for like several minutes.
Yeah.
It'll help your food settle anyway. It's good for your blood sugar, good for digestion, but also can kind of help like stop the food momentum, if you will.
Yeah.
And that could be like a really good tool. And it's like, invite people to go with you. Like, hey, I want to go for a quick walk. I'm feeling stuffed. Don't go sit on the couch. Just like, hey, does anyone want to go for a walk with me? And usually when I do that, like a couple of people will join me and we'll like go for a little walk. It's kind of nice. And we go back inside and like, okay, that was a nice little walk, and we're back and we can hang out. And you're less likely to kind of get that crash after too of being sleepy.
Yeah, that's something we often do as well, is go on a walk. It also gives the kids something to do. Like if there's a bunch of kids at the gathering or whatever, there's obviously they're going to be playing anyway. That's just what kids do. But it kind of gets them outside moving a little bit too if you have them come with you. So it
Yeah.
becomes a fun thing. You get to talk and hang out. You don't lose the communal aspect of it, but it's not
Yeah.
food centric at the same time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that
And
would be
also,
something.
it's okay to have like some nicotine too, right after you're done eating that dessert. You go for that walk. It can be really relaxing, really nice, helps your digestion, and it helps with food cravings.
Yeah, that's true. For my husband, it would be having a cigar on the walk after.
Yeah, that's
after
great. And the
dinner.
thing about the great thing about the nicotine too is it's antiviral, and we tend to get sick after social gatherings, and so it's like covering some
Hmm.
bases there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that if you are in charge of cooking the meal, you can make a lot of substitutions, but a lot of us aren't. A lot of us are going somewhere else. So
Yeah.
these are really helpful things to do. And what I would say, just to we say the same thing, but we word it a little differently. I think you were
Hmm.
saying have all the turkey you want. I would say prioritize protein. Like, so whatever gets into your head the best way when you're hearing this, like,
Yeah.
um, just focus on that. Even if you have to measure it, like, okay, we've got you want to do the Michelle Obama model? Let's just make our own. We have a plate.
Yeah.
Make half of it turkey. Make the rest
Yeah.
of it something else.
Yeah. Go
Not that I'm
for
a Michelle Obama fan, but you can use her plate illustration and just build it differently.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Basically. I think that's a great way to think about it. Like, yeah, if you put turkey on half your plate, like, good luck, like overeating by very much for
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah. Half would even be a lot for me. Like, I would maybe do 2/3 or,
Yeah, it's
a
usually
third
gonna.
or a quarter, not two
Yeah,
thirds.
usually for me, it'd be like a third of my plate or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be for turkey. Yeah, and you know, it depending on if there are different, because sometimes there are different plate choices depending on the nature of your social gathering. Where there's like the big, there's disposables, whatever, and there's like big ones and small
Hmm.
ones. Get a small one.
Yeah.
Like if there's a smaller plate to grab because it's like that's for the kids or something. If you're worried about your intake, like then get the smaller plate. That's okay. People are going to think you're weird when you do this stuff. That's fine. Who cares? Like you
Or
have
they'll
bigger
ask you
goals
why you're
than
doing it and join it
yeah.
too.
You just be like, because I'm trying to take better care of myself. And if people think that's weird, they put you down for it. That stinks. But you can still enjoy the time and just kind of move on and go like, well, they don't have the goals I have.
Yeah.
But your goals are bigger.
Even with the small plate thing, if you use a smaller fork or a smaller spoon and it takes more bites to finish,
That's a
it
good point.
feels like a bigger meal.
Yeah.
That's a bodybuilder prep hack. I think everyone ends up with small spoons and small forks toward the end, but
Yeah.
it works.
And just take smaller bites in general. It does help. Yeah.
Chew them
And also
longer,
like
actually
drink a lot of
savor the
water.
flavor.
Yeah. Drink a lot of water, make yourself feel full. If there's diet soda, have a diet soda with it or something like that. Um, as long as you're someone that responds well to diet soda, some people it messes with them, but if you respond
Hmm.
okay to diet soda, then have the diet soda with it.
Yeah. Really anything carbonated water
Yeah.
that'll make you fuller, stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I will say, if you do go overboard and, you know, the next day you realize it, just don't keep the cycle going. Go lift something heavy, do something active, actually use
Yeah.
the extra that you took in, and it's not going to ruin you. You're able
There's
to
a lot
jump
of
right back
PRs on
on.
Black Friday.
Yeah.
Black
And not
Friday
just
is like,
spending money in PRs.
yeah, that's like it's often PR day because most of us it's still more calories than usual. You go to the gym on the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday, you're probably going to feel really strong. Can be
Yeah.
actually a really fun day sometimes. So like it's okay, go do that. Go move around the next day. And like Amanda said, like it was a great point. Just stop the cycle. Like if you wanted to have a big night Thanksgiving, then just make sure that it stops there, and that the next day you're back on track. Like you don't have to be down on yourself and be like, oh, I screwed up, so I might as well just whatever for
Hmm.
this weekend. Like because that turns into a week or a month or whatever else, and you don't want to have to pay that price later and trying to make progress again. Just take it for what it is. Move on with your life. Go, okay, this is what I did. I'm going to move forward. And a big part of that too are the leftovers.
Hmm.
Everybody goes home with leftovers. If you do go home with leftovers, try to be that guy that takes the meat as much as you can, and just if there's leftovers around that you might be tempted by, don't take them home.
Hmm.
Like it's okay, and it's also okay to like freeze some of that stuff for like I'm going to make sure I don't eat this for a while, And the other thing too is like, if your kids aren't struggling with weight, then like serve it to your kids. Kids can handle higher calorie foods, and they tend to not overeat them anyway. And so
Hmm.
like some of the creamy sides and things like that, like spread it out, let them eat it. But like the next day, just like stick to the veggies and the turkey. It's still going to be a fun time. It's still going to be nice. But you don't want that to turn into like, oh my gosh, I have all these leftovers. I have to use them up. And then it turns into a problem. Like, and I'll say what I say so many times about like eating in restaurants. It's okay to throw food away.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of that dinner was to enjoy the dinner. It's not to enjoy yourself for the next 3 or 4 days. It's nice, I get it, but if you're someone that's not going to be able to moderate yourself and you're going to have regrets, then wouldn't you rather throw food away? You're not going to regret throwing food away in a year or a month or whatever, but you
Mm-hmm.
might regret gaining 3 pounds in a weekend. And so like
Yeah.
it's okay. Like that food served its purpose. It's okay to throw some food away. It's like $5 worth of food. It's not going to change anybody's life. It's not going to change your life. It's all right. It's
Yeah.
done. Let it go.
Plus, even if you do gain several pounds over that weekend, if you have had that many carbs, I promise you a lot of that is water. A lot
Yeah.
of that is water. So
Yeah. You're
don't freak
bloated.
out.
That's
Maybe
all.
don't even weigh yourself for a week and a half, just
Yeah.
stay off the scale, go back to normal. You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where a lot of the struggle happens, is getting in your head about it. So just remember what it was for. It's a celebration, a time to get together and enjoy each other. And it wasn't about feeling sorry for yourself. It wasn't about,
Yeah.
deciding to hate yourself later on instead of
Yeah.
remembering the time that you had with your family and friends. Remember what it's about. Remind yourself of that. There's a lot of reframing
Yeah.
that is part of what we do as coaches. It's not just here's your food and exercise. Have good luck,
Go have
best
fun.
wishes.
Have fun with that.
There's a lot of reframing
Yeah.
about the circumstance you're in, how you got there, why you're there, your mentality. How can you change that?
Yeah.
So just keep that going after the
Hmm.
holidays.
Yeah. Don't turn a cause for celebration into a guilt and regret later. Like part of like enjoying the memory is being able to walk away with it with a clean conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that comes down to that pre-framing that you talked about. If you've already committed in your head, this is how I'm going to approach this dinner. I'm only going to get one plate. I'm going to have a protein shake before. I'm going to eat a ton of meat. If I have dessert, it'll just be a paper thin slice of pie or two and walk away. I'm not doing multiple servings. If you abide by those principles, you're not going to gain weight on Thanksgiving if you've been good on your diet the other days. Like you might gain a little bit of water weight. That's all that's going to happen. And that's how you can enjoy the time, get the experience, get the time with people, and then just sort of move on with your life and everything's good. And you can look back on that like, hey, that was really nice, and not be like, I think a lot of people have like almost an anticipatory anxiety toward how they're going to feel about themselves after
Yeah.
Thanksgiving because of previous years of like, well, here we go. I'm going to gain, the 7 pounds I usually do over the holidays or whatever. This is how you can make sure that doesn't happen, and just let those be like a time that you can enter into without the anxiety, without the concern or the stress or the regret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is a learned thing often as
Yeah.
well. Remembering
Yeah.
from the years before, or however your parents talked about Thanksgiving growing up when they were struggling with weight things potentially.
Hmm.
It's a very learned thing, but you can break it.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that usually it takes people 2 or 3 years. And then at
Yeah.
that point, you don't really have to think about it a whole lot. But that 2 or 3 years it's intensive sometimes. It takes a lot of forethought, takes a lot of active framing, active thought and planning. And then what you'll find is you do this for a couple years, you start just approaching things that way naturally. You don't really think about it anymore, and you walk away from gatherings like that without regrets.
Yeah.
And it's just not a thing. You just be like, oh, that was really nice, and you can walk away feeling positively about it, enjoy it for what it is, a nice celebration, nice gathering with friends and family, and then it's over. And you can look back on that fondly instead of being like, yeah, that was nice, but I kind of felt like junk the next day, and I regretted gaining weight and all this other stuff. You can shed all of that baggage by pre-framing, planning correctly, and just sort of having the right tools for the job, I think.
Yeah. So what if you're in a bulking phase? Is there a different way to approach this?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been in a
I'd
bulking
still say
phase.
get your protein and still,
Yeah. Yeah. You
but
still,
have
you
to.
still want to eat a ton of meat. But like, then, I mean, sort of some of the opposite would apply. Like go get a bunch of carbs. Cool. Like
Yeah.
I would say you still want to be a little bit careful with the fat intake because it's actually not going to really help your bulk anyway. You want to be able to digest that stuff more quickly and not have the inflammation that comes from eating a super fatty meal. And so like go for the meat, go for the potatoes, and
Mm-hmm.
some other stuff. And then, yeah, if you want to eat a decent pile of dessert, that's okay. But I will say, like one thing that I've done with the dessert when I'm actually bulking is like I'll have a protein shake before the dessert gets served. And it is harder to eat as much, which is probably good. But then like I'm getting protein with my carbs, which is, actual positive benefit for gaining muscle mass. So that's like a good way to kind of do it and not do it in a way that like you're not going to feel like junk the next day. And
Mm-hmm.
don't prioritize fats when you're bulking. Like fats are something we add in on a bulk when someone is just not getting enough calories because they're really struggling and they don't know where else to turn. But that is very rare that I implement something like that. I've only done that for myself when I had to gain weight to go up in a weight class by a certain deadline. And
Mm-hmm.
I just could not, stomach enough
That much
carbs.
rice.
Yeah. And just like, I can't stomach the carbs. And so like, I'll get
Yeah.
to a point where it's like, I need to eat fats, but it'll be fats that I digest really quickly. Um, and I would just say like Thanksgiving's probably not the place to do that. If there's cheesecake, I guess like, and you digest that well, you
Mm.
don't have a lactose issue. That can be a good, a good
Mm-hmm.
time to indulge a little bit. But it's like it's a bulking dream Thanksgiving because it's like tons of lean
I know.
protein and some very high carb sources. It's usually pretty easy to moderate the fat intake as long as you're not like making everything swimming in gravy.
Yeah. It also depends how you make your gravy.
That's true. Yeah,
I have a pretty low
yeah,
cal gravy because I love gravy. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to make it easier on myself.
Yeah, I prefer a gravy that's not like super creamy. Like, and Emily makes it that way too. Hers, it's not transparent or anything, but like it doesn't
Yeah.
have that much cream in it. It's a lot of the gravies that are like kind of more, they're basically like white. That's a really really creamy gravy. I actually don't really prefer it. It's too thick for me. I don't really prefer the way it tastes, but it can still add up though. So you gotta be careful. A lot of people are relying on the cream to thicken it instead of some of the other thickening agents. And so like, yeah,
Hmm.
just be careful. I mean, if you made the gravy, then you can control that. If you didn't make the gravy, then just look at it. If it looks, you can tell if it's creamy. Just you can tell by looking at it, like how translucent is it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then you should be like, well, maybe I should go light on this.
Yeah. Thankfully, easy to tell.
It is. Yeah, it is. It actually is really easy to tell looking at gravy. Like, yeah, this is a pretty fatty gravy. I'm gonna go, and I find that a little bit goes a long way with that stuff anyway, with the fattier gravies because it's one very satiating, but two,
Yeah.
like the sort of like moistening that we like to get from it. A bunch of people hate that word, but I don't know what else to call it. Like it works, So like you don't need as much to go as far with that kind. So like take advantage of that and maybe have a little bit less.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we pretty much covered it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can always find us on the socials. Amanda's got her Instagram, mine, and then we've got the High Calling Fitness as well. And if you want to book a consult with us to see how I might be able to help you navigate this and/or other lifestyle factors to get you stronger, get you help you with your body composition, help with weight loss, or other even a lot of chronic illness and disease states and things like that, reach us or book a meeting with us at highcallingfitness.com. We'd be happy to talk with you and see how we might be able to help. And until then, gains and grace.
Gains and grace.